Hey everybody, it is Billy at Be Tough, man. I am sitting here in my simulator right now, my racing simulator, and there is a lot of talk going on right now around iRacing and simulator racing, and I thought I would touch on it. Last couple days have been pretty crazy in the NASCAR world. We didn't touch too much on it on our pages. I just didn't want to, I didn't want to get into anything while it was all developing. And unfortunately, Kyle Larson lost his cup ride and a lot of sponsorships and I don't know what else, man, but a lot of endorsements and stuff from something that was said on iRacing while he was competing with some other racers from the ARCA series and some Indy, I think. But they were on like a Twitch and everybody was like the public was watching and he didn't realize his mic was on and something was said that shouldn't have been said. And so, yeah, man, he ended up losing, and it sucks because he's a good dude, man. He's a super talented. If you ever see him come through Bakersfield, like what he does in the car is like, it's amazing, right? I mean, there's no dirt track racer here that doesn't look at him drive those and say like, oh, whoa, that's incredible. And so, yeah, man, I hope he bounces back. I hope he gets a second chance somewhere. I don't know how it's going to happen. It's going to be a tough deal for him in the Cup Series. But yeah, he lost a lot on that deal. Like it happened at night, and by the next day, the next afternoon, it was all done. Everybody pulled out, including Chevrolet, McDonald's, Capital One, just all of them. But anyway, and that's unfortunate. And then, not only that, but Bubba Wallace, who was racing in the iRacing series on TV, rage quit, and his sponsor said, "See you later. We're out of here." Right? So he lost his sponsor. It's crazy off iRacing. So iRacing, man, I wanted to talk about it, and like it does have a threat a little bit to real racing, and we'll get into that. Now, I've been racing for a long time, real cars, and I've also been a video gamer since the 2600, dude. Like, so when these things collided, like iRacing and video gaming, I was like, whoa! It was like my pinnacle of everything that I like to do, right? It was like came together on this one thing. And I built this simulator rig about 3 years or 2 years ago, I think I did. And I just had seen this iRacing thing. I said, man, wouldn't that be cool if I built something like pretty rad to have in my house where I could just do it whenever I want? And, and I did. And it was cool. And it was like, man, I went overboard on it. I did. I ended up putting this thing that has motion and it vibrates and the VR and the wheel like moving around and shaking in your hand and just everything, man. And then especially when I put that VR on my head for the first time, I literally stopped for a second in culture shock and said, hold up here. This is something different. This isn't like video gaming. This thing feels real. And what does that mean for racing? That's exactly what went through my head the first couple minutes that I tried it. I was like, dude, this is going to be a threat to real racing because this still feels real. And it looks real and it's mind-boggling, And so now it's a weird situation because you do have old school racers that are like, yeah, screw that. That's cartoon racing, man. That is fake racing, right? And I get it. I get them not being into it. And, and I get it. But I can tell you that iRacing is probably not going away. And it's getting more sophisticated, and you are going to get more people that go out and race into it. I mean, even right now, like Scott Bloomquist is the best late model driver to ever race, right? And this week I saw him arguing on Twitter, a real argument, not a virtual argument, a real argument about stuff going on iRacing with Clint Bauer, right? I mean, they're arguing, dude. I mean, they're having like they would normally argue on real racing. And I can tell you that the competition is so stiff and so real on the iRacing sometimes that the heated arguments and the heated flare-ups are very real. Like the arguments are like, it's not like, you're racing people like competitively and you have iRatings and all this stuff. And like these guys are really arguing. In fact, here's something else that is really unique is that, like in a real situation like racing at Bakersfield Speedway, I'll never be able to race against Tony Stewart or, Rico Abreu or any of those guys. I'll never be able to race against those guys, right? In real life, probably, Dale Earnhardt, none of those guys. But on iRacing, you never know. You never know when you go iRacing, who's going to be in that room because I have raced against Tony Stewart, right? And in fact, that race that I got in, someone took him out halfway through the race, and it was the full Tony Stewart experience. Like, have you ever seen Tony get upset? It was that full experience, man. And I was like, whoa, this is surreal here, because I feel like it's like, I'm racing this thing that feels like I got this VR on and it feels like real cup racing, and I'm going around on the yellow flag and Tony Stewart's like just unloading on this guy. And I'm thinking like, whoa, dude, like this is like over the top, And so I'm thinking like, it's like I never would have thought that would be in my living room, right? But it is. So now you start getting a guy, even like me, like, a racer has a needle in their arm. There's a reason why we go buy, we spend crazy amounts of money that normal people wouldn't understand. Like you try to tell someone like how much you spend on racing a year and they're like, what? Right? But that needle in our arm keeps us going back, and, we go back and there's something about it that we can't stay away from that racetrack, dude. Not just this one, just all across the country, dude. Everybody has that needle. And the thing is like this deal, it's kind of like a synthetic needle, whatever it is. I mean, it may not be the real deal, but there's something there. There's enough where, I feel like if I had to retire out of racing, that I would still be able to have that needle in my arm and do what I like to do and have that competitive feeling and, of trying to like outrace somebody. I would still have that. And it's different than Madden football, right? Like, let's say someone that's good at Madden, right? Whatever. They're doing this to throw a ball, right? And run down the field, right? Well, auto racing is different because you're still using the same and trying to be smooth. And then you have the gas and brake and all that stuff and the timing and all that stuff and trying to save tires if you're racing the cup stuff or trying to find the best lines if you're racing the dirt stuff. I mean, all that stuff, your body is using the same like hand-eye, mechanisms that you would use in a real race car. Now, it doesn't have, I don't think the physical is quite as much as you'd have in a real race car. You have to manhandle up a real race car a little bit more. And of course, like we talked about before, that there's consequences to wrecking a real race car, right? And you don't have that, I don't think, on sim racing. But you do have the competitiveness of it, and you do leave races sweating. I mean, that is very real. But, there are some differences. But for a track, like I said, for tracks that are struggling right now, because tracks are struggling, not just here, NASCAR is struggling, dirt tracks are struggling all over the place because demographics are changing. Things that people do, I mean, kids just aren't working on cars anymore. They just don't go work under cars. They don't take auto shop anymore. They're not doing that. So yeah, I mean, you're seeing, less people in the stands, and then when something like this comes up, now these nerds, sorry, I'm a nerd, they can turn the button on and they can go race, dude, and get that racing experience that these guys are going out there and spending all this money on and smashing their cars up and having to come fix them. They can get that same fix in their arm with a sim rig, dude, with a simulator, right? And simulators can go anywhere from, $1,500 all the way up to 50,000, and that's the thing too, is, a lot of people, will have something, maybe, some people like, I take it probably too much as far as like the stuff that I got. I probably went overboard on it, and everything is what you make it, right? You can get into racing. You can race everything from a enduro car, all the way up to a super late model or a sprint car or a NASCAR. Everything's relative to how much you want to spend and how far in you want to go, right? And the same thing with simulator racing. I mean, the guys that are at the top of the simulator racing, and some of those guys are the Cup guys. I mean, Kyle Larson probably has a good iRating. Tony Stewart does. Dale Earnhardt has one of the best in the world, and a lot of these guys are really good at iRacing, way better than me, dude. A lot of these real racers, I mean, they're taking it serious. This isn't an Xbox game to them. Like, this is real stuff where they're dialing in cars and they're testing and they're going out there and, they're really having this full racing thing. So it's definitely going to be something. And, I don't know what it's going to mean because, see, the thing is they work on this iRacing, like they update it every 3 weeks, right? So it's always getting better and better and better. If you look at this thing compared to like 10 years ago, it's night and day better. 10 years from now, I'm like, whoa, what's this thing going to be? Because, and I've said this before, is that, Elon Musk said that there is going to be a time when people are going to have a hard time deciphering real racing from VR racing, okay? And that is very real because even right now, this thing's on the borderline, dude. I mean, it's not there yet. There's still some things I think on iRacing that could be better, especially on the dirt side. I think, I think there's things that could be better on the dirt side. The Cup stuff, they're getting real close on. I mean, I think the Cup stuff is like their premier stuff. You get in the NASCAR and the Infinity Series, any of the Lucas Oil stuff. I mean, that's where they put a lot of their technology. I think the best stuff that they have. But even now, like when you put that VR on and you're in that cup car and you're looking around, you're looking at the stands and you're going around the yellow and you're just like, you hear the motor and you're feeling it, you know, and you feel the transmission and you're just rocking like this, you know, the car is rocking as it would in a real thing. You lose the sense of what's real and what's not. In fact, when you take that off, you're like, whoa, it's like you just left another dimension. That's kind of hard to explain. So it is a unique time for iRacing. And I don't know too what this means. I mean, I'm thinking this too. This is what I was thinking, is that if I'm a cup owner, if I own a cup team, I'm not sure I want these guys on iRacing after just what just happened. There's a lot of liability in that. I mean, if you go on there and you say the wrong thing, it's your ass, dude. I mean, that just happened. That's not something that could happen. That just happened. Someone made a small goof up and it cost them everything. And I mean everything, dude. I mean, it's not fair what happened. The punishment doesn't fit the crime, but I get it. I understand how it all works, but it doesn't seem fair, but it happened. And so like, I'm just thinking like, what does this mean, dude, for iRacing? Because I'm like, if I'm a team owner, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, dude. I know you guys want to do this on Fox, but I don't want to do it. I don't want our drivers out there. And if they say the wrong thing in front of everybody, that's it. It's all over, you know? So I don't know how it's going to work. And I don't know what the future is for iRacing. I know more racers, like even right now, Bakersfield Speedway just is going to set up kind of like what they're doing on the NASCAR, where they're going to have real racers out there that you're going to be able to tune in with like real broadcasts and watch local racing. From the guys that you watch out there, you know, in different divisions are going to be racing on that iRacing, dude. So what does that mean? I don't know, but it's something I don't know. People will probably tune into it, you know. So I don't know, just weird times, and I don't know. There's things worth touching base on the iRacing stuff. And like I said, the good part is too for people. There's not everybody can afford a race car, dude. Like here's the thing, I would never in a gazillion million years be able to afford a cup car, right? None of my friends would. Nobody here in Bakersfield would be able to afford a cup car. But I've had that experience of what it feels like going around Daytona in the draft. And I know, you know, I would never experience that in a million years, but now I've actually had that feeling, and I'm not saying I'd be able to jump in a cup car and go do it, but I have, now I've actually firsthand experienced, you know, what it's like to be in a draft, you know, what it feels like to be in a draft and when to get off the throttle and what to do. You know, that's the kind of stuff I would never be able to do. And for a lot of other people, you know, that can't even afford a four banger, right? Like they're able to go out there and race a modified or a super late model. And that's something they'd never be able to do, or a World of Outlaw car, you know, and kind of get that. It may not be real, but it's definitely more of an experience than they've ever had before. You know, it's like, so they get that experience to feel like, okay, this is kind of what it's like. That's cool. I get to experience that. So I don't know, man. It's in that aspect, it's very cool. And it's only going to get better from here. Like I said, 10 years from now, 20 years, I mean, these things are going to be out of control, I think, as far as like realism. And what does that mean for real racing? I don't know. And tracks are going to have to figure out a way to tap into it because it's not going to go away. I don't think it's going to go away. And so anyway, there's a little insight to iRacing and all the stuff going on, man. I just all over the place on it, but there's just so much to cover on it, and it's just worth talking about. So anyway, there you go. There is a little bit of iRacing for you, and yeah, man, crazy times we're living in right now. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is Billy at Be Tough.